So, I really want to know. Yeah. Oh, is he a dude from Unsub, Baby Canis? Okay. I didn't know he was a guy from. Wait. God damn it, you're right. You're absolutely right. He is. You, you're right. I just realized it. I just realized I recognized seeing him from Unsub. It did not click for me until just now. You're right. Okay. Then I'm guessing if he's Unsub, he's gonna tell a great story. So, I want to find out. Ember cutout? Do I want to know? Oh god, okay, I'll look at this after stream. Or, sorry, after the video. Let's look at the video first, and then I'll look at the cut. Then I'll look at what Atanashi did to me. Let's check this out.
We at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration are taking the next steps towards interspecies communication. That's why here on St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands, we have a team of researchers working around the clock to attempt to communicate with dolphins. Let's check in on them.
Oh, for the love of all that is holy, what are you doing to that fish? Technically, he's a mammal.
Oh god. Oh god, and he has the conspiracy theory board behind him. There is a literal Sunny in Philadelphia conspiracy theory board behind him. We are already starting off strong, chat.
So yeah, we're gonna talk about that. I'm King Trout. Buckle up, kiddos. This one gets weird. Our story begins with an American research scientist by the name of John C. Lilly. Lilly was a neuroscientist who during the 40s and 50s conducted research on the structure of the human brain and human consciousness. Research which eventually led to him developing the first isolation tank. His fascination with the human brain
Wait, what just popped up there?
Which eventually led to him developing the first isolation tank.
Okay, you guys can't see this. Is that Joe Rogan? Is that fucking Joe Rogan's head popping up there? It looks like it. Okay. Why? Does Joe Rogan use an isolation tank or something? Or why? Why? Oh, he loves isolation tanks. Okay. I had no idea. I know nothing about Joe Rogan other than he's like a shock jock that supposedly speaks the truth. Thank you, Taurus. Okay. I had no idea what the fuck Joe Rogan had anything to do with isolation tanks. I know nothing about him, so. Well, I knew, that part I knew, is that he used to do NNA. But that's it.
His fascination with the human brain expanded into a fascination with cetacean brains. Cetacean being a family of sea-dwelling mammals, like dolphins, whales, and porpoises. You know, the kinds of sea-dwelling mammals that 5th graders and people who are no fun at parties like to inform you aren't fish. His fascination stemmed from the fact that these mammals have brains which are in most cases larger than human brains and appear to be as complex, if not more complex, than the human brain.
Okay, hang on. I want to see that image again. I think this is the first time I've actually seen a human brain side by side with a dolphin brain. That's fascinating. That is... And you say, like, at least as complex as the human brain? I would say more complex. The dolphin brain looks like it has more, like, folds, and thus it feels like it would be even more complex. Like, it's got the cake, it also got the nuts. You know, the dolphin brain is nutted up and is a dangle. Like, this thing has got some serious meat on it compared to the human brain. Not good. Well, I think Brothers Burn, they do, but they don't. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's there's the left and the right the left and the right hemispheres obviously are much larger, but they are further apart, so they're not as connected, which I think is probably why humans, in terms of intelligence and reasoning and, you know, having opposable thumbs and everything, because our hemispheres are closer together, I think is why we are a higher form of intelligence versus dolphins, because their hemispheres, I don't think, have as direct connection. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Andrew, that's exactly where I was going with. But it looks like they have more neural pathways, but that could very well be because dolphins have more autonomic systems that it has to work with than humans do, because dolphins are underwater. It has to regulate, it has to regulate the oxygen, to regulate the blowhole and the fin movements, and it constantly moves in like 4D space, as where, including like down and up, it constantly does that, whereas humans, fundamentally speaking, only work on 4 axes, whereas dolphins routinely work on like 8 axes. So the larger brain might be, a lot of it have to do with the multi-axis navigation that the dolphin has to traverse on a moment-by-moment basis. So yeah, I almost think that it's, in a very specific way, dolphins have more intelligence, but humans have more intelligence in the degree of higher intelligence, whereas dolphins have more intelligence on a level scale. If that makes sense. I'm not sure if I'm making any sense when I'm trying to say that, but anyway, it's very interesting.
Appear to be as complex, if not more complex, than the human brain. And based on the observations that these cetaceans have such large and complex brains, Lilly made it his goal to develop communication between humans and cetaceans. He founded what he called the Cetacean Nation. Cute. In an effort to first develop communication between human beings and cetaceans, and then second, allow these cetaceans to openly communicate politically as a nation with the rest of the world.
Wait.
Communication between human beings and cetaceans, and then second, allow these cetaceans to openly communicate politically as a nation with the rest of the world. His logic being that such complex creatures should also have access to human rights. The same.
Really? This is not a joke. He's being serious right now. This scientist thought that dolphins should effectively have human rights. Geronimo's, if this scientist was around in the 90s, I would actually accuse him of being inspired by Johnny Mnemonic. I would. Well, wait, was he wrong though? He hadn't said that the head scientist was on LSD during this thought process. So, okay. So when he was having these ideals, he was high off his ass. Okay. Then that makes a whole lot of sense in that situation.
Set of rights, anyway. He wanted the Cetacean Nation to be an active member of the United Nations. I'm serious. Now, obviously, none of this would be possible unless we could develop a way to communicate with the cetaceans, so he had to start there. He began his attempts to communicate with cetaceans, primarily dolphins, through the 1950s. Until in 1959, he founded the communications primarily dolphins through the...
Lily working with dolphins in someone's above-ground pool, apparently. Oh, why would you do this to this animal? This is fucking cruel. I'm like, God.
1950s. Until in 1959, he founded the Communications Research Institute and built a facility on St. Thomas Island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. With all of his focus on dolphin-based communications, he really kicked things into high gear. How could he afford to do this? Well, the United States Navy and NASA were cutting him a check. But why?
Why?
Aliens. I'm dead serious.
Oh, God.
This one gets fucking weird. In 1960, astronomer Frank Drake and Carl Sagan got together and developed what they called the Drake equation. This was an equation to determine the likelihood that life exists off of planet Earth.
Wait, hang on. Let us actually read it. Pause the video for my read it. Okay, so number of active communicative extraterrestrial civilizations, N equals average rate of star formation times fraction with planets times average number of potentially life support times fraction that develop life at some point times fraction that develop intelligent life times fraction releasing detectable signs into space times length of time. Okay. Interesting equation. I have no idea how... I wonder what this I understand the equation that they're working with. Length of time releasing detectable signals. That one could easily be determined by the distance from Earth. They can measure. At this point in time, they were able to estimate light year distances from Earth for planets. And so length of time releasing, then times the fraction releasing detectable signs into space. So I guess they were going with the radio telescopes that were able to actually detect signs. And then the develop into... Okay, so the fraction detectable signs in space is, I think, they're going with the existing celestial bodies that were emitting some kind of sign into space, whether or not it could be determined as being made from an alien species or it's just a, space noise. Fraction that develop intelligent life. They're probably going with planets that would support a biological life form as they understood it, probably carbon-based life forms, so they would have to go with planets that were capable of supporting carbon-based life forms, which would be times, but... Okay, I'm digging way the fuck into this math too much. I will stop. I'm digging way the fuck into this too much, and I'm probably wrong about a lot of it.
Off of planet Earth. And it turns out the odds are pretty fucking high. Now, this meeting was considered by many to be the first official step towards SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Now, NASA obviously was very interested in the possibility of extraterrestrial life existing, as was the US Navy in case we have to kill them.
Point of note, Will Smith was not Navy in this. Key point of note here, Will Smith in Independence Day was a Marine. He was not Navy. Just gonna point that out.
Welcome to Earth.
So, research began in earnest. But then Drake and...
No! Robo-Spartan, he was not. Robo-Spartan, he was not Air Force. He was Marines. Because if you remember, he was a pilot. But if you remember, during the battle where his partner, played by Harry Connick Jr., when they're running from the aliens and Harry Connick Jr. does the crazy maneuver and does a hard bank, he pulls off his oxygen mask, and Will Smith says over the radio, "Put your mask back on, that's an order, Marine." Thank you. Beat you to it, Pactra. Right, that's an order, Marine. So Will Smith was a Marine in that movie. Yep, and he wore the Marine uniform too. When he got dressed in his classic uniform, he wore a Marine uniform. Yes, I know Navy is the parent in the Marine Corps. You tell a Marine that. You tell a fucking Marine that. That's all I wanted to point out is Will Smith was a Marine. He was not Navy, he was a Marine.
Sagan realized one small issue. If we did encounter extraterrestrial life, how the hell were we going to talk to them? Sagan had heard of Lily and figured, hey, if this guy can figure out a way to talk to dolphins, he could probably figure out a way to talk to aliens.
I'm saying there's no black.
So NASA and the US Navy began research funding for Lily's little dolphin experiment. In his attempts to communicate with dolphins prior to the funding from NASA and the Navy, Lily had noticed that the dolphins he was working with would breach the surface of the water and attempt to mimic the sounds of human speech. This is no...
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm reasonably sure that the dolphin, that what they were mimicking there is they were trying to mimic the sounds of babies. When dolphins do that, I think like they try to mimic the sounds of babies because they know that humans care. Well, cats do it too. Cats do it too. But I'm thinking the dolphins doing it too more effectively because they've learned that humans treat babies special, that they care for babies. And so if they sound like a baby, the human will be more like, oh, he's so cute, I'm gonna give him stuff. So it's what they use to try and get food because they basically pull out, they use the cute factor of a baby to get fish. That's what I think happens with their.
This is noteworthy because in the wild, dolphins very rarely breach the surface of the water to communicate. After a few years of construction, the research center was finished, and Lilly began his experiments primarily on 3 dolphins. At this same time, a native of St. Thomas Island by the name of Margaret Howe heard about this top-secret research facility from her brother, apparently, who had no connection to the research facility whatsoever. So how he found out about the top-secret dolphin facility, I don't know. But either way, she loved dolphins, so she went to the facility. She showed up at the research facility with no formal scientific training. But was like, hey guys, I like dolphins, and I heard you have dolphins. Can I come look at them? And they said yes for whatever reason. At this facility, she met Lilly, who was impressed by the gall of her to just show up at his top-secret dolphin facility. They got to talking, and she expressed her fascination ever since childhood with the concept of talking animals. Apparently, she had a very keen eye for the behavior of the dolphins at the facility, so Lilly hired her. She began researching and recording the dolphins' behavior.
And that flashby said for no pay. She basically volunteered. This was strictly volunteer just because she got a thing for dolphins. Baby Jeebus, I strongly suspect that's where we're going. I do believe this is where we are going. Yeah, she wanted the Dolphin D. And we've seen pictures of the Dolphin D. There you go, Drowning Nose.
Behavior, but she had a request of Lilly. She wanted to get closer to the dolphins.
Oh, God.
To quote Count Dankula, in the business, we call this foreshadowing. She wanted to spend as much time as was physically possible with the dolphins, so she had a request for Lilly. She asked that the research facility itself be flooded partially with water so that she could live full-time with the dolphins.
What?
And Lilly agreed. Lilly was often traveling.
Wait. I gotta hear that again because I think I was focused on something else. Let me hear that again.
She wanted to spend as much time as was physically possible with the dolphins, so she had a request for Lilly. She asked that the research facility itself be flooded partially with water so that she could live full-time with the dolphins.
What?
And Lilly agreed. Lilly was often traveling at this time, so he said, yeah, sure, whatever, you can run it. Are you ready for things to get really weird?
Yes.
I hope you said yes, because either way, here we go. In 1964, the Dolphinarium was completed, and Howe moved in with the 3 dolphins.
Bubbers!
The first floor of the facility had been flooded about waist-deep full of water so that Howe could live amongst the dolphins, while the second story remained dry for her bedroom and office. The 3 dolphins she lived with were Sissy, who she described as pushy and aggressive, real boss bitch energy. Pamela, which is a hilarious name for a dolphin, who she described
Again, maybe they all look the same to me and none of the pics were labeled, okay?
as shy and kind of cowardly. And Peter, who was an adolescent male, who she quickly became very close to. At this
Yeah. Oh, don't worry. That I have that button on standby.
point in the experiments, they had pretty much given up on the concept of humans speaking the dolphin language, which they cutely refer to as dolphinese, and instead focused.
Wait. Who did he use? Oh, okay. I thought he might have used a VTuber. I don't know that anime, but okay.
and instead focused their efforts primarily on teaching the dolphins to speak English. This is America. I don't care if you're a sea-dwelling mammal. You live here, you speak American. The process by which Howe was attempting to teach the dolphins English
I'm
was
going to say
very
yes.
similar to the way a human mother teaches an infant to speak English. She would start by teaching them basic phonemes. Phonemes? She would start by teaching them basic sounds and working her way up to full words and sentences. She also had a strict zero-tolerance policy for any dolphinese to be spoken during these English lessons. She continued these lessons for a few months, including one method where she painted the bottom half of her face white and put on black lipstick, so as to help show the dolphins the movements her mouth was making.
Okay, out of pocket. Not a terrible idea. If you need to, if your goal is to facilitate, obvious jokes aside, very obvious jokes aside, and Siri just thought I was talking to it. From a scientific perspective, I understand the reasoning behind this. If you paint the bottom of your face white and outline your lips in black, it makes them starkly visible and much easier to follow. Now, granted, this is a dolphin that does not have lips and does not have the same mouth. So, in context of using it with a dolphin, it makes no goddamn sense. Because just because the dolphin can see how your mouth is moving is not going to help the dolphin make the sound. Because their mouth don't work that way. Exactly, Alex. So, on its face, in principle, as an idea of how to, showcase how a mouth movement is supposed to be for a word, okay. In the context of a dolphin, it's fucking stupid.
Which doesn't make any sense to me. I was like, have you seen a dolphin's mouth? They don't have lips, for starters. She was thinking they would use their blowhole to mimic the sound. I don't know, whatever. She's the dolphin lady. All was well and good until Peter, the adolescent male dolphin, began going through puberty. Now, I'm not your dad, so I'm not going to give you the birds and the bees speech, but with puberty in any mammal come certain urges. And old Peter, he took a liking to Howe.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Peter would rub up against the inside of Howe's legs or up against her hand or her feet. Ugh. And, the lessons would be interrupted.
Wait. Dolphins are degenerate feet guys. Here you go, Mr. Dolphin. Here you go. Just for you, Mr. Dolphin. Enjoy.
The lessons would be interrupted because of Peter's urges. And at first, Howe would take Peter down to the two female dolphins who were waiting in a separate tank during his lessons, but according to her, this became too time-consuming and inconvenient.
Oh, no.
So, she did something else.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Please? I don't think she used her legs.
To help relieve Peter's urges. How do I say this in a way that will allow for this video to remain monetized on YouTube?
Jerked off the dolphin. I don't have to worry about monetization, so I will say it. She spanked the dolphin's monkey. Oh, you were referring to me, Pete. Okay.
Well, merch linked in the bio below. She was jacking off the fucking dolphin. She was cranking his hog. She was spanking his monkey. She was giving him the old-fashioned under the table at IHOP. And all because it was too inconvenient to move him downstairs to the other dolphins. Yeah, that's a perfectly valid excuse. So yeah, anyway, because of the research...
Purge the unclean.
Yeah. Yeah. The woman gave the dolphin a handy. God help us all.
For this video, the words dolphin penis are now in my Google search history. Thanks, Margaret Howe. So while that was going on, the research really hadn't been making too much progress, and in the meantime, our boy John Lilly had developed a new fascination. LSD. Lilly would take LSD and sit in his isolation tank for hours, during which he was fully convinced that he was communicating with the dolphins psychically. Since he had developed this psychic connection with the dolphins, obviously the next step was to give the dolphins LSD.
Huh?
Okay, I gotta see that again. The dog reaction was priceless.
Communicating with the dolphins psychically. Since he had developed this psychic connection with the dolphins, obviously the next step was to give the dolphins LSD.
Huh?
Obviously. And as insane as all of this sounds, check this out.
1, 2, 3. Fish in bucket.
Obviously.
Let's hear that. Audio recordings of Hal and Peter over separately recorded. Yeah, okay. Yeah, like, listen to this.
This sounds. Check this out.
1, 2, 3. Fish in bucket.
Obviously.
Like, it's... You can kinda, sorta, especially that second one. You can kinda, sorta hear it. Like the fish in bucket one.
Fish in bucket.
Obviously.
The tempo? Yes, like it matched the tempo. You could almost make out fish when it did the first word. You could almost make out it trying to say fish. Almost. Yeah.
Obviously, the dolphin's not speaking English, but you can kind of hear it, though, can't you? Howe was opposed to the concept of giving the dolphins LSD, but Lilly insisted, and it was his experiment after all. Much to his annoyance, though, it didn't seem to have much effect on the dolphins. It only made them quiet, which, in an experiment to attempt to communicate with them, not exactly a wonderful result. Eventually, though, Howe did convince Lilly to stop giving LSD to Peter specifically, because obviously she had a very close connection to him.
Oh, God.
The year was now 1966. Very little progress had been made, and Lilly became more fascinated with LSD than communicating with dolphins. Except for...
Wait. And who was it in chat that said that Lilly was the guy that worked on MK Ultra? Which is where his fascination, I guess, with LSD took him, was to Project MK Ultra? Makes sense? Scary, but it makes sense. Yeah.
Psychically in his isolation tank. He was still doing that regularly. NASA and the Navy, primarily through Dr. Sagan, would regularly check in on the experiments to see how they were doing, and at this point in time, they weren't thrilled. The question was raised as to whether or not Howe was actually teaching the dolphins to speak English or if they were just mimicking human speech, kind of in the same way a parrot does. Just because a parrot repeats what a human says doesn't necessarily imply that we're communicating with them.
True.
The lack of results in combination with Lilly being an LSD-fueled loose cannon and the dolphin hand stuff caused NASA and the Navy to cut funding. Due to Lilly's waning interest and the lack of funding, the experiment ended.
Chat. So Lilly had sudden interest, was all in on the dolphins, getting them talk and getting them to communicate with aliens. And then his interest waned and he decided, I'm going to go on to a different project. Who does that sound like, chat? Anybody have an idea where my head has just gone to with that comparison of all in on something and working like hell on it, and then I'm bored, I'm gonna go work on something else and forget about this? No, not Bioware. No. This predates the current. It predates the modern thing. Who is a certain someone that people have been waiting for decades for a project that he initially went all in on, has gotten sidetracked and refuses to finish? No, not Elon. Hybo? Correct. George R.R. Martin? Yeah, was all in on Game of Thrones and then took a sabbatical for the last book and got sidetracked with the TV series, and now he's all in on the TV series and the book is pretty much forgotten about. Bingo. Oh, Pat just said I missed it.
Shortly after Howe's departure, Peter unalived himself.
Oh!
Seriously. Since dolphins are mammals
What?
that breathe air but live underwater,
What?
each breath is a conscious choice. So, on occasion, when a dolphin just isn't feeling like it anymore, they'll take their last breath, float down to the bottom of the water, and not come back. Did Peter do this because his heart was broken? Maybe, but my guess would be it's because he was getting as many HJs a day as he wanted, and all the attention was being paid on him, and then that all abruptly ended. The dolphin from the TV show Flipper actually did the same thing once production on the show ended. Apparently, dolphins are attention whores.
God!
In the late 1970s, Hustler magazine found out.
Well, he got sad because he was not getting... He was not getting attention when she left. It honestly, like, you know what I would equate it to, actually? I would equate it more to not simply just he wasn't getting attention anymore. I would almost wonder if he became addicted. If she was doing this to him on a daily basis. Honestly, if she was doing this to him on a daily basis, where she was giving him a handy, I wonder, like, a dolphin's brain, with the, as complex it is, could he have gotten addicted? Could he have gotten, like, this is more than beyond him wanting, thinking that she was his mate. Like, he's basically receiving a pleasurable feeling from her at least once on a daily basis. And then all of a sudden, one day, gone, cold turkey. I have to wonder if he actually became addicted to receiving that pleasurable feeling on a daily basis, and when it went away, he was like a junkie going through withdrawal and couldn't handle it. That actually makes a hell of a lot more sense. Now, as far as the dolphin from Flipper, you can make your arguments, but yeah, exactly. Like, who knows, like, maybe with, like, the dolphin from Flipper, he was getting, that one could have just been purely attention. And, when the dolphin from Flipper stopped receiving that attention daily basis, where he was getting that dopamine hit, it became depressed and unalived. And I suspect that's what happened with Peter. Peter, like, crashed hard like a junkie.
Since this has happened to more than one dolphin, when they stop getting attention, then does this happen to the SeaWorld dolphins too?
Well, the SeaWorld dolphins, a good question. That's an excellent question. I've not heard of any studies or incidents with the dolphins at SeaWorld. When they retired, this does happen to them, Andrea? Okay. I would think, given it's SeaWorld, that they would do some kind of a weaning, where they would start, like, weaning off the attention before actually retiring them and releasing them. But, I don't know. it is SeaWorld, and people do hate SeaWorld sometimes for very good reasons. So, yeah. Well, it's like that. I think the orca's being severely depressed. I think that's one of the reasons why their dorsal fin like flops over in captivity. I think it's a signature of depression.
Out about these experiments and published an article talking about the relationship between a
Oh,
male
God.
dolphin and a female human. Howe, understandably, was horribly embarrassed, worried that the lasting legacy she would have after all of her work would only be the fact that she was doing hand stuff to a male dolphin. Which, you know, fair, but also, just don't do that. Just don't do that. Don't
Yeah.
jerk off animals. Don't do that. You could have put him downstairs. I'm sorry it was inconvenient, but don't jerk off animals. Don't do that. Just don't do that. Lilly, throughout the remainder of his life, continued his experiments to communicate with cetaceans, since he was communicating with them psychically when he was on LSD in his isolation tank, and at one point admitted...
What? Alex? I'm sorry, what? You cannot be serious. Please tell me you're not serious.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
This will haunt my nightmares tonight. Thank you so much, chat.
to fix a female dolphin. What is it with these people fucking dolphin?
Wait,
admitted
what?
to fix them psychically when he was on LSD in his isolation tank. And at one point admitted to fix a female dolphin. What?
What the fuck is wrong with these people? That in the actual fuck is wrong with these people? You've got women jerking off the male dolphins. You've got men finger banging the female dolphins. What the fuck?
What is it with these people fucking dolphins? I don't understand. I don't understand. So what's the takeaway? What can we learn from this? Well, first of all, don't do hand stuff to animals. And second of all, our government is so bad at spending money. Holy shit. Holy shit. Federal agencies paid a guy to give LSD to dolphins while a woman jerked off one. Anyway, I've been King Trout, and as always, thank you for watching. Many more videos to come. I'm changing up my schedule, so hopefully you'll be getting a lot more frequently. Also, check out my merch. Follow me on Instagram. Not TikTok, I don't use that. X. Go to kingtroutcomedy.com. Love y'all. Bye.
My God. Okay. For everyone that is having such a goddamn problem with dolphins and claims that dolphins are SA artists, I present you Counter Exhibit X through to 3671. So when you want to talk about how dolphins like to do SA, clearly humans like to do the same goddamn thing to the dolphins. Fuck.